You put your hand into an empty basket. Nothing, no grain, no meat, and the child beside you is watching your face. There is no store behind the trees. No field waiting neatly outside the camp. No delivery truck, no canned soup, no emergency freezer, no glowing phone that can turn hunger into dinner. So what do you eat when the food runs out? For most of human history, this was not a dramatic survival scene. This was Tuesday. Your ancestors lived in a world where food moved, rotted, hid, migrated, froze, dried, fought back, or disappeared beneath the ground. A herd could leave overnight. A river could go quiet. A storm could strip fruit from the trees before it ripened. And yet ancient humans did not survive by simply being tougher than you. They survived by knowing the difference between empty and truly empty. That difference may be one of the most important skills your species ever learned. Modern people often imagine hunger in the ancient world as a single terrifying picture. A desperate hunter, a broken spear, a family waiting beside a cold fire. But hunger was usually more complicated than that. Food rarely vanished all at once. The obvious food vanished first. The fat animals moved away. The sweet fruit was gone. The big roots near camp had already been dug up. The easy meals disappeared, and then the real knowledge began. What could still be eaten? What could be scraped, cracked, roasted, soaked, pounded, smoked, shared, traded, or remembered from another season? That was the question. And for your ancestors, the answer was rarely one heroic kill. It was 100 small decisions. Anthropologist Richard Lee saw part of this truth in the 1960s while studying the Jew, Honski people of the Kalahari. Anthropology simply means the study of humans, and Lee was trying to understand how people lived by hunting and gathering instead of farming. He found something that shocked many modern readers. These foragers were not constantly starving while working from sunrise to collapse. They depended on deep knowledge of animals, plants, seasons, water, sharing, and movement. One of their famous staple foods was the mongongo nut, a hard-shelled nut that could be gathered, stored, cracked, and eaten when other foods were less reliable. A nut does not look dramatic. It does not make a heroic painting. But in a difficult season, a nut can matter more than a spear. What does that tell you? It tells you that survival often belonged to the person who knew boring food. The backup food, the food nobody would choose first if the world were generous. This is called a fallback food. That means a food people turn to when preferred foods become scarce. For ancient humans, fallback foods could be roots, tubers, seeds, nuts, shellfish, insects, small animals, marrow, tough leaves, bitter fruits, or anything that could be made safe with enough skill. The key word is skill. A root is not automatically dinner. Some roots are poisonous raw. Some are too fibrous. Some need fire. Some need soaking. Some need pounding until the dangerous parts are reduced and the edible starch is unlocked. If you do not know the method, you do not have food. You only have a plant. That is why ancient hunger was not just a battle against nature. It was a test of memory. A child learned where old women dug after the rains. A teenager learned which trees still held edible gum in dry months. A hunter learned that a dead animal was not finished when the meat was gone. Because bones could be cracked for marrow, and sometimes boiled or smashed again for grease. An elder remembered the hill where bitter bulbs became useful after roasting. Knowledge sat inside people before it ever sat inside books. And when food ran low, the group was only as strong as the memories it had kept alive. This is where the story becomes stranger. Some of the best emergency foods were hidden in places modern people barely notice. Under the soil, inside shells, inside bones, stuck to plants that look useless. Trapped in tough seeds that need stone tools to open. At Clayses River, a famous coastal cave site in South Africa, archaeologists found evidence that humans cooked starchy plant foods long before farming existed. Cynthia Larby and other researchers reported charred pieces of starchy plant tissue in ancient hearths, with evidence reaching back around 120,000 years. A hearth is simply a place where people made and used fire. Starch is stored plant energy. The same broad kind of energy that makes potatoes and roots filling today. This matters because it shows that ancient people were not just chasing meat. They were roasting underground plant foods. They were turning hard-to-eat landscape into calories. They were making the invisible edible. So imagine the basket is empty again. The hunt failed. No large animal came close. But someone kneels near a patch of dry stems and begins digging. At first, it looks like nothing. Dust, stone, A few ugly lumps pulled from the soil. Then the lumps are carried back, placed near coals, roasted, split, shared, and chewed slowly. Nobody cheers, nobody calls it a feast. But the children stop crying. That is ancient food security. Not abundance, not comfort, just enough knowledge to keep tomorrow possible. The same pattern appears in the teeth of ancient relatives. Amanda Henry and her colleagues studied hardened plaque on Neanderthal teeth. Dental calculus is the hard mineral crust that can trap tiny traces of food for thousands of years. Inside it, researchers found starch grains and plant microfossils. Microfossils are extremely small remains, so tiny that a microscope is needed to see them. The point is simple. Even groups often imagined as heavy meat eaters used plants. Some of those plant traces showed signs consistent with cooking. So the emergency menu of the deep past was wider than the cartoon version in your head. It was not just mammoth or starvation. It was roasted roots. It was seeds. It was nuts. It was shellfish collected at low tide. It was eggs when nests could be found. It was grubs inside wood. It was fish trapped in shallow pools. It was marrow hidden inside cracked bone. It was patience. And patience can feed a family when strength fails. Along coastlines, the answer to hunger could also come from the tide. Shellfish are not fast. They do not run away like antelope. They can be dangerous if gathered at the wrong time or from bad water. But in the right place, with the right knowledge, they are a dependable source of food. Sites like Pinnacle Point and Clayses River show that early humans on the southern African coast used marine foods deep in the past. Marine foods means foods from the sea. A mussel on a rock is not as dramatic as a spear in a giant animal. But it has one powerful advantage. It stays put. When land animals move away, the shore may still offer something. When fruit is gone, the tide may leave dinner attached to stone. But this also required timing. You needed to know the moon, the tide, the season, the rocks, the smell of danger, and the route home before water returned. Again, survival was not one trick. It was a relationship with a place. James Sussman, who has written about the deep history of work and hunter-gatherer life in southern Africa, argues that many foraging societies did not treat scarcity the way farming societies later did. Scarcity means the feeling that there is never enough. For mobile foragers, the answer was often not to produce more and more in one place. The answer was to move, share, reduce wants, and trust a network of knowledge spread across people and land. That does not mean life was easy. Children died, droughts hurt, injuries mattered, bad seasons could be brutal. But the ancient strategy was not endless hoarding. It was flexibility. If one food failed, another food mattered. If one place failed, another place might help. If one family had meat, others had roots, nuts, tools, medicine knowledge, childcare, or memory. Food was not just calories. Food was a social system. This is why sharing may have been as important as hunting. Polly Wiesner, an anthropologist who studied Jew-Honski life and exchange, documented how sharing in gift relationships helped people spread risk. Risk means the chance that bad luck hits one person harder than another. A hunter can fail for days. A gatherer can find more than expected. A family can be unlucky today and lucky next week. If everyone hoards only for themselves, one bad week can become a death sentence. If food circulates through relationships, hunger becomes a group problem instead of a private disaster. That is a massive difference. Imagine two ancient camps. In the first camp, one hunter drags meat behind a bush and hides it. In the second camp, meat is cut, argued over, laughed over, distributed, owed, remembered, and folded into future relationships. The second camp may look less efficient to a modern manager. But over years of drought, injury, pregnancy, sickness, and failed hunts, it can be more survivable. Your ancestors did not only eat food, they ate trust, they ate reputation, they ate the promise that when your basket was empty, someone else's might not be. That sounds soft until the famine comes. Then it becomes engineering. The counterintuitive twist is this. When food ran out, ancient humans were not always searching for more food first. Often, they were searching for options. A different place, a different plant, a different technique, a different person, a different memory. Modern hunger feels like an empty shelf. Ancient hunger often felt like a narrowing map. The familiar path no longer worked, so your mind had to open the hidden paths. Could the bitter fruit be soaked? Could the bone still give marrow? Could the tide be low before sunset? Could the old camp near the dry river still have tubers? Could the group split for a day and return with different foods? Could the elder remember what happened in the last drought? That kind of intelligence is difficult to see in a museum display. A stone scraper can be placed behind glass. A spear point can be labeled. A charred seed can be dated. But the real system was alive. It was in conversations. It was in warnings. It was in children watching hands. It was in grandparents correcting mistakes before a poison entered a mouth. It was in the simple fact that nobody survives prehistory alone. So what did ancient humans eat when food ran out? They ate the foods that modern people forgot to respect. They ate underground storage organs, which is a scientific phrase for plant parts like roots, bulbs, and tubers that store energy below the soil. They ate hard nuts that demanded effort. They ate shellfish that demanded timing. They ate small animals that demanded patience. They ate marrow that demanded tools. They ate seeds that demanded processing. They ate insects when culture allowed it and hunger required it. They ate whatever their landscape had taught them to eat safely. But even more than that, they ate from a system of attention. Every walk was a survey. Every season was a lesson. Every failed hunt forced the mind to notice what had been ignored. This is the part that reflects back onto you today. Modern life surrounds you with food, but it also teaches you a dangerous kind of blindness. Food appears clean, packaged, scanned, delivered, and separated from weather, soil, animal movement, and human labor. You can stand in front of a full refrigerator and still feel anxious about what to eat. You can have more calories within a kilometer than any ancient person could imagine and still feel a strange emptiness. Because the ancient problem was not only hunger, it was connection. Connection to place, connection to season, connection to other people, connection to the true cost of a meal. Your ancestors did not always have enough, but they often understood where enough came from. That understanding shaped the body you still carry. Your brain still responds to scarcity. Your mouth still finds comfort in starch and fat. Your nervous system still calms when food is shared. Your attention still sharpens when supplies feel uncertain. The old world is not gone from you. It is under the supermarket lights, under the delivery app, under the nervous feeling that one bad week could change everything. So the next time you open a cabinet and feel frustrated because there is nothing good to eat, remember the deeper truth. For your ancestors, nothing good was not the same as nothing. An empty basket was a question. A dry season was a test. A failed hunt was not the end of dinner. And the people who survived were not always the strongest hunters, but the ones who could see food where others saw only dirt, shells, bones, weeds, and silence. You put your hand into an empty basket, and now you understand, it was never truly empty.